May I now request Mr. B. Sumant to take over for his presentation on how digital is powering ITC Next strategy. Over to Mr. Sumant.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to present to you what we're doing in the digital space. Now, a lot of what I'm presenting has already been covered by my colleagues, but that's just a testimonial of the fact that digital is used across the organization. I now walk you through our thought process on digital and how we find this as a key pillar and how we're driving it in the organization. If you look at India today, I think the country is going through a rapid transformation. You look at the smartphone usage, it's hit 170 million. And the digital payment gateways are being driven very aggressively by the government, and the adoption rates are phenomenal. And there's a plethora of new startups in the digital space also that have come about. I think we're looking at a complete shift in the kind of consumers that you have today. The modern consumer is a digital native consumer. And the current generation, they like to make a statement, they are proud of who they are, and they want to focus on themselves and invest in themselves. They're proud of our Desi culture. They believe in following their passions. They want instant gratification. They're also great advocates for change, and they are not afraid to espouse a cause. They're extremely connected, and they're very comfortable using multiple technologies, and are used to having information at the touch of a button. So all this actually makes this a very, very different kind of consumer who has emerged. And for organizations to do well, one has to understand the consumer very well and be able to adopt not just your products, but your entire business model to meet the needs of this consumer. If you look at consumer behavior in the FMCG landscape, we find that use of smartphones has become par for the course. People like to use it not just for shopping, but also for a lot of content today is consumed on the phone. If you look at IPL, significant numbers of people watch it on the phone and Hotstar. Similarly, people prefer to watch and enjoy experiences in the comfort and safety of their homes thanks to COVID. And connected devices like the watch I'm wearing has become pretty normal, where you have a combination of physical and digital experiences melding into one. In terms of channels, the e-commerce channel has really galloped in this, especially during COVID. E-commerce used to be a channel which people looked on for huge discounts, but I think it's moved well beyond that. It's now a channel that people go to discover range, variety, and of course for convenience. Right? The convenience of home delivery really came home during the COVID period, and I think is here to stay. So it's now a channel that offers range, convenience, and of course, attractive pricing. Direct-to-consumer models are a complete boon for the FMCG industry. We've always been disintermediated from our consumers by retail. But with the D2C capabilities being developed, it's possible for now brand owners like us to engage with consumers and build that relationship. And that's what will be lasting and can be sustained going forward. Hyper delivery models have also come in. You now see the current wave of 15-minute deliveries that Swiggy is offering and Grofers and so on. So this is here to stay. What these models are trying to do is replicate the kind of convenience that the local kirana offers, where there is somebody in the shop who can always do home delivery. And I think the digital models are trying to replicate what we've always had through kirana, through our neighborhood kirana. But this is another trend, and companies need to adapt to be able to cater to these kind of requirements. And these have a lot of implications for how you design your supply chain and how you do your fulfillment. I'll talk more about that as I go forward. Analytics, the fact that everything is being done digitally allows you to capture data at every touch point in the transaction. And this allows companies to analyze the data, mine them for information, and use very advanced technologies like AI and ML to come up with insights which are not normally obvious. So analytics is here to stay and is going to be a serious source of competitive advantage. I'll now take you through our journey, the digital journey that ITC is going through. In fact, if you look at ITC, I dare say that if, it looks like the same company, but if you look under the hood, you'll probably see a completely new organization, which is like Digital Insight. This is how we started our journey. We were one of the first companies in the country to launch a Salesforce automation application way back in 2007. And since then, we've had lots of inputs. In 2016, we set up our dedicated e-commerce team. Within the trade marketing and distribution setup, there's a complete dedicated team that focuses only on the e-commerce channel. And that team has been able to help us catapult our growth rates in e-commerce, especially in the recent COVID period when people were shifting to e-commerce. Our growth in e-commerce has been phenomenal, far ahead of most other companies in the industry. We've had a series of launches, but one thing I'd like to call out in this slide is, if you look at the last 3 years, the pace of digital has grown exponential. Today we have initiatives in every single aspect of our operations, whether it is improving work processes, automating work processes through the digital persona, the chatbots or the RPAs, or it is One ITC, which actually leverages the entire transportation and logistics buy of the company and gets organization level synergies. And I think I dare say that today we have one of the most efficient and low cost transportation networks in the whole country because of our ability to put all of the T lanes together and negotiate with vendors, because we offer through our network of routes, we offer enough backhaul routes for the vendor to also find efficiencies, and that gives us efficiencies. All of this is possible only because of the One ITC initiative. If you look at some of the others, and I'll cover many of the initiatives in 2020 and 21 in my subsequent slides, but you will see that there is a whole plethora of initiatives covering operations, procurement, employee enablement, consumer insighting, consumer experiences, the complete gamut. Let me start with inciting. So we've set up our 6 Sense customer data hub several years ago. One of the key things that we did in that is every single touch point that the organization has, whether it's email, whether it is a phone call, or whether it's a social media comment, our digital campaigns, our marketing activities online, visits to our websites, all of that comes into one single repository. Just to give you an idea, we get about 5,000 social media posts a day. We get about 150 calls a day. We get massive number of data coming into our customer data hub. And all of these we then analyze. So we have tools that analyze social conversations. For example, if it's a conversation about health, if it's a conversation about nutrition, about spirituality, you name it. So we actually have tools that will tag all the keywords in a conversation, group it, and create cohorts, which we can then use in improving our targeting of products, services, and communication. Similarly, we have tools for image analytics. So today it's very common for people to post an image and write some text next to it. So you also need to know what is the image conveying. Is it a gooey brownie chocolate cake, or is it a fried snack? So we have things like Google Lens, which we use to analyze the image content. We have other digital image analytics tools for lookalikes. There's a lot of issue today we have with counterfeiting and people passing off products which look similar. So we have tools which can actually detect anything that looks similar to anything that we have. And that is used mostly to figure out if there's any infringement of IPs that are being done. Consumer journeys, every time you're on one of our digital assets, whether it's our websites or our e-store, we look at how the consumer interacts with the content on the site. Everything from first landing on the site till clicking and checking out is something that we learn from. And that helps us improve our value propositions as well as create cohorts. The next part is content. I think the days of content creation, of running ads on television are long over. The current digital trend, you have to look at taking your insights, sharpening your focus, and then being able to develop content that meets the requirements of the cohort that you're targeting. So today on Insights, we have a very vast set of first-party data, which we couple with third-party data to further refine the understanding of the cohort. Right, so we have about 50 million of first-party data and about 650 million of third-party data. All of this helps us really sharpen the content, and we now have digitized content. For example, if you want to post a banner on Facebook, right, you actually modularize the content so that the background, the text, the font, the language, the characters in the ad can all be changed depending on the audience you're talking to. So we have AI engines that actually in real time assemble content, serve it to a cohort, do an A/B testing, see what works, what doesn't work, and then change the content and also change the channel in which you post the ads. So both for content creation and deployment, we use AI tools which significantly increase the effectiveness of the content that we use. Just to give you an idea, if you run campaigns, you could run a campaign which is a call to action, where you run a banner, you want somebody to click on it, go to a site and purchase your product, right? So you want to know the click-through rate. The click-through rates typically are for performance campaigns are 1.5% to 2%. When we use first-party data, it's as high as 3.5%. Similarly, when you're building brand awareness or communication campaigns, typically have a view-through rate of about 30%. When we use first-party based cohorts, that jumps to as high as 45%. So data makes a lot of difference in the effectiveness of communication as well as the cost of communication. If you'll see our ITC e-store, we advertise and we get people on the store. We find that the return on ad spend when we use our first-party data is as high as 25%, higher than when we use normal cohorts available on Facebook and other media. In-house content creation, gone are the days when you have an agency making all of your content. We create content on the fly. So if there are occasions, sometimes you have, fluid occasions like a surprise wedding announcement, or you have fixed occasions like Diwali or Valentine's Day or New Year's Eve. So both kind of occasions you create content. And we today have in-house content creation engines which have generated about 2,500 pieces of content in the last 12 months. And 70% of this content that we create is from first-party data. Now, when you do all of this, you need to have a good measurement track in place so that you know that your spends are getting optimized. Today, our digital spends have seen a steady increase, and we've seen a 3.2x growth in digital spends over the last 4 years. The next part, once you have this insight, you need to reimagine consumer experiences and start to create really differentiated consumer experiences. And all of my colleagues talked about it. Hemant talked about it in the context of foods, and so did Samir in the context of personal care. But this wheel is very important. You have superior insights. Those insights are no good unless you're able to convert them into offers. And for that, you need agile and purposeful innovation. Samir talked about those examples, right? Because we were listening in on conversations and we could catch trends early, we were the first to launch the surface disinfectant spray. That's a category leader. It was a super success. And then, of course, because of our agile manufacturing and platform-based R&D, we could quickly repurpose the fragrance lines to produce a product. We then listened to conversations and people were saying, hey, what about my clothes? What about my sofa? What about my curtains? How do I keep them sanitized? So we came up with a cloth disinfectant spray, which, by the way, also is a mold killer. If you want to use it on your jackets in winter, which you don't want to wash every day, it works perfectly as a mold killer. But that came from the inside of what do I do with my clothes? Similarly, people were touching surfaces and they wanted something to protect themselves, so we came up with wipes. So if you have surfaces that you don't trust, for example, you're taking a public utility and you want to clean it, so we've got a set of wipes. And that journey kept going on. And just to give you an idea of platform-based innovation, we have in our R&D center groups which look at agriculture, at food, nutrition, hygiene, and skincare and so on. So there are various technology platforms that are being built at all times, and there is we have the unique, benefit of being able to meld many of these platforms into one. And NimWash is a classic example. So the agri team knows all about how to remove pesticides from vegetables. The personal wash team knows everything about washing. And we combine the two knowledge bases together to come up with an all-natural veggie wash. Because one of the things in COVID was, what do I do with my vegetables? I can't use a sanitizer on it. So how do I clean a vegetable which I eat without peeling without peeling? For example, like a tomato or a carrot or so on. And we came up with this veggie wash, which is an all-natural action, which not only kills COVID and bacteria, but it also removes pesticide from the vegetables. And that's a unique offer. It was possible only because we were A, listening, and B, we had the technology platforms. If you look at the nutrition-based beverages that we launched, now our our R&D labs have been working on immunity platforms and a whole host of health platforms for a long time, including coming up with all natural ingredients which are clinically proven, right? So when the need came in COVID, where people were talking about immunity, how do I protect myself? How do I improve the body's immunity? We had these ingredients that we could put together and come up with formulations that actually have clinically proven immunity improvement claims. And that's, again, a great example of partnership. We've also gone outside the organization and partnered with people like Amway, who have their own molecules like the Nutrilite nutraceuticals, which have 21 vitamins. So if you see the Nutrilite range of beverages that we've done with Amway, they combine some of Amway's proprietary nutraceuticals with some of our proprietary natural ingredients which boost immunity and so on. And it's a great match that comes together. The protein shake has got our milk protein with Amway's Nutrilite vitamins in it. Similarly, the other products. So it's something that's really working well. The next part is of you've got these great offers. How do you engage with consumers? And the mode of engagement with consumers is changing rapidly. Here's another example. During COVID, we had this problem of how do we connect with consumers. Consumers themselves, engaged, for example, interacts with youth, and the youth were really frustrated having being cooped up in their houses. So we said, hey, why don't we take virtual concerts and take it to the consumers in their houses, right? So we actually ran, we created this ITC Connect program where we were able to run 45 programs online. All kinds of brands have used this platform to create engagement programs with consumers. So you click on a Facebook ad, you go into Zoom, and you can register and participate in the program. So we've had great success in it. We heard that people were, missing pujas in temples. So we ran an online puja campaign, which saw some great traction. And we then did the Lokashema Puja, which had 32 million views. The Mangaldeep app, we've had 1.15 million downloads, and it's a very, very heavily used app. And even on Instagram, it's got about 92,000 followers. So many of these programs have really worked, but it's about taking that consumer insight, acting in the moment, and creating platforms of connection. The next part is smart operations. We've got a gamut of AI ML solutions that drive each of our applications. We've got multiple applications for interacting with the trade. Vajra is used by the salesman. Vistar is used by our rural salesmen who interact with the stockists. Viru is a virtual salesman, again, which we launched during COVID, where you get a WhatsApp message and the retailers are able to log in and connect and use it. And Unnati is an app which allows the retailer to order anytime and get fulfillment the next day. If you look at our e-commerce growth, in this period we've been able to, it's now 7% of our total sales, and in categories like personal care it's as high as 14%. So this is thanks to the mobilization that we did to build brands, to communicate on each channel, and to grow sales. If you look at smart operations, and I think every one of the presentations talked about this, I think today we use analytics in a big way in every single area of operations. If you look at the planning pieces, there's a lot of work that is being done. We're running a project Zen, which is an end-to-end integrated platform. Now, as the consumer segments splinter and as you start to offer more and more niche products, you need to have a supply chain that can actually put together the offers and deliver it seamlessly. And for that, we're putting together an end-to-end platform that has different fulfillment strategies for high volume products, low volume products, niche products, and so on. And all of those, and catering to different kinds of channels, whether it's direct to consumer, whether it's e-commerce, modern trade, general trade, convenience. So it's designed to take care of demand from multiple channels and for all kinds of products. Similarly, our factories today are state of the art. All of them use digital technologies extensively. On the fulfillment side, we've got, again, intense use of technology and analytic solutions across the value chain. This is a view of some of our factories. We have automated systems to monitor processes, process parameters, manage utilities. We've got extensive use of, AI for optimizing processes, coming up with golden batches. There are IoT devices for predictive maintenance. We also use a lot of vision analytics to ensure quality. There's a fair amount of robotics in our manufacturing process, which helps improve productivity of repetitive processes. We just put in place an automated manufacturing and logistics facility in our factory in Pudukkottai. This is a completely... So Hemant talked about the ICMLs. This is attached to the Trichy ICML, and it allows us to ship out the entire range of products effortlessly. Similarly, coming to employee experiences, we've got a plethora of initiatives that are in place for workflow improvements, for creating the digital personas, to look at enhancing the, automating repetitive tasks, and for Employee Connect. And I think all of these go in making the workplace smarter, faster, and more effective. In fact, right from day one of COVID, we were able to seamlessly switch to an online mode of working, which is now a hybrid mode of working, without a single day lost, because all our systems were able to transit to a digital form. We also use augmented skill building, and I think this example was shared by some of my colleagues. All of these digital initiatives, for them to be sustained and grown, you need a very robust base. And that is what we've got with the DigiNext, which is our Apex team that sets direction for digital initiatives. We've got the Young Digital Innovators Lab, who come up with different digital business models. They have ways of rapidly validating the model, and then we take it forward. We put in place extensive plans for skilling of people. On Industry 4.0, we have a community of practice. Most of our industrial engineers are on this community, and they're constantly evaluating and adopting new technologies. We have the digital analytics COE. It's very well established in the paper business, and they're running multiple projects across the organization. It's being set up in the FMCG business, and we've got a multitude of projects already identified and actioned. We've got the Digital Academy for building digital skills, and we also work with global faculty to try and refine some of these models. To enable all this, we've created our own D2C platform, which is the ITC e-store, that allows us to connect directly with consumers. We are also partnering with startups, both through direct and indirect investment. This gives us an opportunity to actually interact with the startups, learn from them, understand business models, and adopt many of these in our own systems. We're also creating an internal environment, or startup environment. So we've had this massive competition within the company called Reimagine Next, where we had teams coming up in every business with new ideas, and they've all been enabled to go out and pilot those ideas, the shortlisted ones. We're also creating digital-first brands and connected communities. So let me take you through. The ITC e-store is one example of. We started this during the pandemic. Today it's in all the metro cities, as well as Pune, Ahmedabad, Nagpur, Lucknow, and Indore. and it really showcases the full range of ITC products. But, there are three challenges when you run a direct-to-consumer channel. One is, how do you manage the cost of fulfillment? And I'm happy to report that we today have that under control, and our cost of fulfillment is extremely competitive. The second challenge is, how do you acquire consumers? We're constantly working on ROAS, and all the first-party data that I talked about actually goes towards reducing the cost of customer acquisition. And then as we kick in with the lifetime value of consumers through a robust loyalty program, that cost drops even further. So we are well placed to connect with consumers and expand our e-store. If you look at the new generation of consumers, you go from products to giving the consumer control over what they buy. So you will see increasingly that there are new configurable, personalizable products. The classmateshop.com allows you to choose the notebook cover that you want. It's digitally printed and couriered to you, and this is becoming extremely popular. We have the Dermafeed Smart Skin Advisor, where this is an AI-based app. You take a selfie of yourself, and then the skin analyzer analyzes your skin and gives you a recommendation of what products would be most suitable for you. It looks like things like pore size, sebum, hydration levels, and all those parameters. So the future is about not just static products, but allowing the consumer to discover the best product and experience for themselves. We're then moving on to digital-first brands. These are brands that will be entirely marketed in the digital space. We've launched Dermafeed has pivoted to a digital-first brand, and we're also working with startups like Mother's Purse, who have an entirely digital model of creating brands and marketing brands. Finally, to end, I think today, if you look at ITC, the strength of ITC is our ability to leverage our synergies that lie across multiple business divisions. For example, the foods business succeeds basis the strength of our procurement, agri-procurement, the strength of our hotels businesses to come up with the right formulations, cuisines, understanding of cuisines, matching it to tastes, and the foods business's ability to execute, market, and trade marketing and distribution's ability to reach the product. And all of these are powered at every node, and I don't have the time to go through every single node, but you will find that there's intense use of technology and AI models in every node to drive the business forward, and I think this will make all the difference in our performance in the market. Thank you.